One, two, three, four.
You are listening to SKYLIT, the SKYLIT Books podcast. SKYLIT Books is a general interest bookstore in the Los Feliz neighborhood in Los Angeles. You can shop with us from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. or visit us online 24/7 at skylitbooks.com. Follow along at SKYLIT Books Instagram and Twitter. You can subscribe to the podcast on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Thank you for listening, and now on to the episode.
Hello, my lovely and beautiful listeners, and welcome to SKYLIT. This is the SKYLIT Books podcast, and I'm your host, Lance Morgan. Today, I'm so thrilled to welcome Christian Madsen to read from his new poetry collection, To the Torches, and afterwards, he'll have a conversation with his grandmother, Elaine Madsen. Before I introduce them, I want to remind you that SKYLIT Books is now currently open for in-store browsing, but we ask that you follow the current CDC mandate, bring your masks, and please be respectful of your fellow customers and the staff. You can also always shop online 24/7 at www.skylitbooks.com for in-store pickups or shipping. Christian James Madsen was born in Los Angeles, California. After studying acting and launching a successful career as an actor, he went on to direct an award-winning short film, Dinner with Grandma. Madsen currently resides in Los Angeles, a city that has been the backdrop and inspiration behind his creativity, and where he continues his work as an actor, director, and now writer. His first written publication is a body of poetry titled To the Torches. Elaine Madsen is a writer, filmmaker, and actor who starred in Christian's short film, Dinner with Grandma. Christian and Elaine, I'm so excited to have you on, both of you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you again,
Lance.
No problem. It's my pleasure. Christian, you have some reading for us today?
Yeah, I'll read a couple poems here from the book To the Torches, and the poetry that I have is all collected from the last 6 or 7 years of poems I've collected and wrote. I was fortunate enough over the pandemic to just have this time to really collect everything and self-publish this book. There are no titles to the poems. It's just the dates and the times I wrote them on. So just so there's no set feeling to what you should think before you hear the poems. It's just sort of here's when I wrote them and how you would understand them. So yeah, I'm excited to read a couple.
I'm excited too. Take it away.
I wrote this poem on September 24th, 2020 at 1:04 a.m. There is no stranger when it comes to pain. Evil reveals itself with no shame. World is shut, but voice is open. The years held back, the truth has spoken. Let love comb the soul with rain. Answers from above begin the change. Listen to those who swam in flames, because not all wounds get stitched the same. I wrote this poem on August 18th, 2020 at 1:04 a.m. Stop the door. The breeze is insane, drying us warm like runaway trains. Feel for the dark, squinting like sleep. Did you know the water was this deep? And rewind fascinatingly slow, erasing everything we know. Ships to land as fast as wild birds. Your footsteps, all we heard. Steps, fragile, just to the one you chose. Repeating the words in your sleep, exhaling it all in the deep. Up for air, only to see the mirror of you always shows me. I'm gonna read one from the older poems. which is a poem about a hotel I stayed at, or rather a motel I stayed at in New York, called the Jane Hotel. That's a pretty fascinating place. And I sat in a coffee shop and wrote this based off of what I was feeling and looking at. November 23rd, 2016, 11:52 p.m. I sit at a cafe in New York. Hotel coffee is helping with the jet lag and with the feeling of loving being away from home. There's a stuffed alligator on the wall of the cafe I'm in. I bet he liked that feeling of leaving the lake before they shot him and stuffed him. Maybe he wanted to be captured and didn't like being an alligator. There's a feeling of being okay with letting go, not knowing what's ahead, but knowing that everything happens for some strange reason. Me and that alligator both liked that feeling. I wrote this poem on September 5th, 2020 at 1:03 a.m. A continuous whisper, candles erased, a cathedral of eyes without a face, leaking through paintings, reveals the whole. Erosion begins, exposing the soul. The battle of demons sing their song, talking like weather, daggers at dawn. Witness to the pipes, connect the pain, waiting to pass the river with no name. How long is it till we comb the tomb? Until my lamp turned off in your room. The struggle of climb shook us deep, but in this war, the silent must meet. Let's see, I'll read a couple more here. I think I wrote this about Valentine's Day, but January 25th, 2021 at 8:53 p.m. I'll tell you if I can. I'd share this world if you took my hand. We could sail until the wind drank the sea. You'd hold what we know inside your glass, and we'd drink to the tears of our past. Finding your shell amongst the storm, entering your water, it all feels warm. We hold these false tales to our core, but memories fade, as I said before. Each other, we have that for certain. So tonight, can we close the earth's curtain? Making use of space, we move passively. Is that what you're asking me? I hope I fog all your windows with hearts. Well, maybe that's just how we start. Moving towards one, we begin again. So this time, let's dance to nothing. Wouldn't that be something? I wrote this poem on May 8th, 2020 at 12:57 a.m. It hurts to hear the tune begin, but let it play, let it win. Don't fight it, just give in. Stand in its grass, chant its name. Close your eyes, don't be afraid. This feeling comes, but only once. Don't act like you haven't wanted it for months. Let the strings be your mind. Let the drums commit your crime. Let go. Without this, you've been holding back. Exist in love, forget where you're at. Unlace the boots you laced. Let it only be the sound you face. Undo the dress you wear. Brush out the nightmare in your hair. And lay a blanket amongst its woods. Once you settle, stay for good. I wrote this poem on June 12th, 2020 at 12:58 a.m. When all hum begins its midnight mass, when sounds begin to sip from the flask, do you listen to the language of the past? Frozen warm, painful lyrics. Only those who know the words fear it. It reveals itself when you're happy in rage. It shows you its spirit, and you burn like sage. Come to one, close your eyes. The only way for it to live is if it dies. This music of suffering, it plays like Beethoven. If you can hear it, you were chosen. Okay. I will read a couple more here. I wrote this poem on June 25th, 2020 at 1:41 p.m. If you can swim in a collective warmth, arms from storms sheltering you, where silence was louder than God, but you returned willingly, would you dance in its miracle, bending your shadow like a child listening to the sun? What plans are made if we have time? Exchanging faces with mine. The mask returned, all else dies. These are the demands of the sky. Okay, I wrote this on April 11th, 2020 at 10:56 p.m. The desert's muse burned like coal. Devil's perfumed burned my soul. Took you to my dream, met your true self, and you weren't what you seemed. I walked the last wave and waved. I'll meet you past the crash, where ghosts take naps and nightmares run the dark. I don't want to take you home, underwater where we lay, until there is nothing to say. Okay, let's leave on one more here. I think I wrote this poem about the pipes in my apartment building. I wrote this poem on November 11th, 2020 at 1:40 a.m. Say its name, released through pipes, a gas that enters where you sleep at night. All we breathe, this tin-foiled snake. It shook us deep. Now open the gates. Welcome those who pay to sleep. Like children in books, they take a peek. We wake for choice, eyes of crows, waiting like ghosts without any clothes. I see you move just like the trees, making the heavens fall to its knees. Chip the stones, show us inside, warming our skin to prove we're alive. Okay, and that's some of the poems from my self-published poetry book, To the Torches. Okay, babe.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to read a poem I wrote about Christian. And I think it will go very well with the visit you've taken your listeners to. It says, Christian is steel and cobalt blue. He's a mystery writing a song in silvery language only he knows. He's history's nephew. He's newly etched awe. He's a mirror of honor that sits over there on the branch of a tomorrow he's grown for himself. And I feel like there.
And I think that last line speaks to,
Yes.
you know, where we could actually start this conversation, which is me moving out. Basically, my life artistically took a positive direction because I moved out very young. And if you remember, the first place I moved to was with you.
I do remember.
And I was had a very different mind state. I read, but I didn't know how to engage artistically in the things. I didn't know how to cultivate my passion. And I think I was trapped in a bag. Like I had my bag full of books and painting stuff, but and writings, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with them. I didn't know what they meant. And I moved in with you, I think I was 19, 18.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want to get up. I thought you and me were just going to eat cucumber sandwiches and I was going to live with my grandma. And then I remember so distinctly, you got me up literally with a pot and pan the second or third day I was living there, and I was like, what the whoa, like, what the heck, what is going on? But that changed me, because then, remember, that same week I got the job at the hotel.
You did.
And I got a 9 to 5, and I was going to acting classes, and I was doing the graveyard shifts, and just it got me into a different mindset, which was to be productive and to not sit around. And I think it started to open up, like, okay, with the little time that I have, what I do with it. And so I think it really helped me balance out and start to find time to really cultivate what I wanted to do, which was ultimately the poetry, and then finding out that I really loved writing. It really was something that and I think you were a big motivator for me in that, because you're a writer yourself, and so I knew that there was at least something familiar in the room and in the air about it.
Well, I feel like one of the things that fed you in this direction were the kind of trips we took to the museum, and to see art and to hear music. And I think you didn't know how many different things in life could feed you.
Yeah.
And you have been eagerly plunging into every opportunity that I made possible. And I remember lots of times we went to the Getty, and we went to LACMA before they started rebuilding it. And
Yeah.
those were the one things. And I think another thing that you and I have shared, and that I have watched you grow, is in the kinds of things you read. I remember we started out doing some simple things. We read a few things from Steinbeck. And when you began to be able to talk about what those writers were doing in the books, those were really pathways that you could follow as you pursued your own music, the music in your head, that into your poems. And I just feel really, really proud to see how you've grown. And when you write something about time, I think that's one of the intriguing things that triggers both of us, because it's so loose. One day we're here, and the next day the world goes on and we're not. And
right. And remembrance too, like remembrance of the time, because I know how I feel, and I can remember that. And that will sort of start to paint the colors of that given time that I was there. And so I think those are the things that I hold on to the most. And that's how I was able to, I guess it was an easier step forward to take, because with the writing, because like going back to like the books that we would start to read together, is like when you brought up like Steinbeck, I thought about when you and me read Grapes of Wrath. And I remember sitting on the floor finishing the book and how I felt after. So when I think of Grapes of Wrath, I just remember the feeling of it, and I think that's what good writers, and that's what these books really are about. They're just about getting you to feel what it was like, and to take someone to a place, whether it's distinctively there or to a place that can get them to something that can motivate them to write, or or be passionate and move that towards the artistic side of things.
it's the big step for a poet, I think, is not just that you are moved to speak on the page, and sometimes to share them, but it's a very, very big step to put your poems and your verses in a container, which is what your book is. And I always feel like until a poem is heard and it lives in another heart, in another mind, that's the moment a poem is really complete. In a way, when we write poetry, we're writing to ourselves. But when you take that other step to dare to let the poem go and it finds another home, that's a really significant moment. And daring to get your book, get your things published and out there. And now to have the website where people can, in a way, can respond to you. They can see what you have offered, but to be able to communicate with the poet on the website that Lance has made possible for us to share our conversations with others and to talk about books and what poetry means. That way of communicating that Lance has provided is really a gift.
Yeah, I mean, and credit to him too, because, you know, just going back to how this all started, like I, you know, I went to San Francisco right around the time I think I was living with you. I did a trip to San Francisco and I went to stay with a friend out there. And, you know, I was so wrapped up in beat poetry and I was Ginsberg and Burroughs, and I was just so fascinated by Neil Cassidy and Kerouac and their whole journey. And so when I got to San Francisco, it was like, you know, I was just in a museum of where those guys lived. And, you know, I went to all the places and I went to City Lights and I was just blown away. I sat in the poet's chair and I was so emotional being there. And, you know, that really encapsulated a time where, you know, I wrote my first poem and, you know, I felt really like a release afterwards. And it wasn't something that had come from anything of what I read or wrote. It was just like, I just know that's the act of sitting down and putting something I was feeling down and then getting that off of my, you know, sort of chest was just a great feeling. And, but I didn't know what it was, you know, I didn't know that's what it would become, which is where it was now, which is like, I would, you know, find these places and moments to write, you know, and not forcing it was a big thing too. I think I went through that in the beginning too, and you just have to wait till these things come about, and then they just hit you all of a sudden like some sort of, you know, voice, you know, and you just sort of work for them at that point. You just kind of like have to go, okay, I'm hearing a bunch of stuff, and you know, I gotta.
The poem lives out there somewhere, and you're a medium that the poem comes through.
Yeah, I'm just some sort of like secretary for this, you know, voice that, you know, I'll sort of hear some line and then that's it. I'll just, okay.
Right. But then
and start jotting.
When you start putting, the poet hears that, but then that's where your own voice comes. You hear it and you color it. And that's what makes it, that's what makes the poem come alive, is the color of your voice. Mm-hmm. And because of the book and the website, now other people are going to be able to open that book and let something that you've written live in their heart. And just amazing. And again, thank you, Lance, for making an opportunity for us to have a conversation with your your,
I think too, when I was, when I decided to self-publish it, and I realized that there's no one else going to do this stuff other than me, or, in terms of promoting it and all that stuff. So I would get up early and take my books to a bookstore, consign, or try and, work out something with how I can get my books on the shelf. And, Skylight was one of those places. I just walked in, Lance was standing right there, and we just connected. I just said, "Hey man, here's where I'm coming from, my books." He said, "Let's do it. And I would also love to do the podcast if you can." And so, yeah, it was a big credit to Lance to getting this into Skylight, and also just doing this great interview with you.
well, the Skylight Bookstore is a really incredible haven for
Mhm.
good books and to come together with people of like mind. And one of the
Yeah.
things really difficult in this town, in this world, in this time, is to find people of like mind. And that's the Skylight Bookstore is a place where that can happen, because everyone's welcome when you walk in the door.
Yeah. And you and me have spent many hours in there looking for our next read or a next book. And,
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, how we got to the point where it was on the page and in the book. Because I think we got some more time here for the interview. So when I um, finally decided, I was so grateful and, just humbled by, the time I was able to have during the pandemic to just make this decision to, have the time to edit and put this book together. Without that time, I mean, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this. And, I was able to sit down, go through everything that I'd written in the last 7, 8 years, see which ones worked, which ones didn't. And I was also hit with a lot of time where I could work on stuff and I could write new poems that were sitting there, and, and those voices that were just spinning and repeating in themselves. And I was able to put a lot of that stuff down. And, I made the decision to try and get it published. So I put together a rough sort of booklet with a different name, and I sent that out and heard nothing. And, obviously that was, bummed me out. And then I realized, like, well, I have a nice feeling of wanting to really do this on my own. And I don't want to do it for anybody else, because ultimately I wanted to just get these poems out and get them up in the air. So I made the decision to self-publish it and just do everything on my own. I went through the pros and cons of publishing and self-publishing, and, I came to the conclusion that, I want to do this for me, and I also want to get this out for you, and, more people that were interested in it. And, I'd gotten some nice
yeah,
friends over
the satisfying thing is that there are people who, once they've found the book or heard them, I mean, the first big poetry reading that you did was wonderful. And the videos that we made of the things that you read, and all the people who were there to share it, was a really satisfying moment.
I wanted to build some sort of like progression to the release of the book, which we released on July 1st. So I did videos. My grandma read a poem from the book, and my friend Joe D'Alessandro and his wife Kim wrote a read poems from the book. And I just throughout tried to create some sort of motivation and deciding factor towards, the release of the book. And yeah, so we put the book out, and it was just an amazing feeling, to have
Well,
such a, I
to
mean,
have, to see your words in ink and inside a book is a gift like no other. And
we had been in so
there,
much we had edited the book for like a year. I mean, it was different names, there were pictures in it, there were not pictures, there were, I was holding back. And I remember actually it was a text from you that we were texting really late at night, and I was basically at that point I was holding on to the book. I was not going to
yeah,
release it. And
yeah.
I was saying, well, no, this needs to be this way, and I need to, and I don't know about this. And you were just like, just put it out. Now you're just waiting for nothing,
Yeah, because you're just holding on to it because it feels safe. And
Yeah.
you have to worry whether it will be, how it will be received.
I was scared. I was so nervous. I was just scared. I was nervous that I was gonna, at that point I was scared to release the hounds, like to everybody. And I just didn't know how it would be received. And then you started going to that place where you're like, well, no one's gonna like it, and now, well, I should have done it this way, it's not the right way. It's like, no,
You have to stop.
you have to stop. Yeah, that's what you said. You have to stop.
Have to let
You
go.
have to do it for you, and that's all that matters. And then I just was like, I just sat up from the bed and was like, that's it. There's no pictures, there's no nothing. It's just about the poetry, and it's for those who want to read it. It doesn't have to be this perfect thing, So it was a great moment, and a real learning experience.
I'm happy to have been a part of this. And I need to apologize to you and Lance, though, because I have an event that's about to take place, and I really must go. And so
That's okay. No, Lance just came back.
No, I'm here. No.
you, Lance, must carry on, and I'm going to have to go now. So
Thank you so much, Elaine.
okay.
Thank you so much
Okay.
for joining us today.
Okay.
And Chris,
We love you. We love SKYLIT Books.
Yeah,
And
I'll bring you, Bay. I'll bring you through there soon, and you'll be able to meet Lance and stuff.
I look
yes,
forward to
please.
it. All right.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
please. Bye. And Christian, this is a perfect place to end. And thank you so much for joining.
No, thank you again, man, just for putting this all together. And yeah, it just meant so much. It was just like talking to my grandma, getting that all figured out, and she was, yeah, it meant so much. So thank you.
No problem. No problem. And for our listeners, you can buy Christian's book of poetry right now at SKYLIT. To the torches.
Yeah.
Right now, it's on display right in the front of SKYLIT Books. You can go pick up a copy. And yeah, come on by. Christian, do you have anything last you'd like to say to our listeners and just the independent bookstore community as a whole?
Just to more great books. I mean, I'm an avid reader. Over the last 2-3 weeks, I started a book club, Old Soul Book Club. Come on down. We just finished Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin.
I mean, one of the best books.
We're starting. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful book.
Oh, I love that book.
And yeah, it was really great too. It was just a really great introduction to just James Baldwin, and I really want to read more now. And now we're doing Leonard Cohen's Beautiful Losers. So excited to excited to just keep moving forward on anything that has to do with books. And SKYLIT has always been a local just favorite of mine. So I'm very, very honored to be a part of this.
Oh, thank you so much for being a part of this too, and for being so happy to be on. No, we're so excited to have authors like you on. So to all the listeners, go on, pick up a copy of Christian's book. And thank you again, Christian, for a great conversation to listen to between you and your grandmother. You guys are just so I mean, just so cute to see you guys talk to each other, and just the love between the two of you is just so great.
She's my best friend. So yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so great. I'm so happy we're able to have her on too. But yeah, thank you again, Christian, and to the listeners. You have a great, wonderful rest of your day, and see you back soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Skylight Books podcast series. Please don't forget to visit our website at skylightbooks.com and make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more author talks and bookseller conversations. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you back in our store soon.